Selamat datang para peserta School to School Virtual Conference dari 11 provinsi yang tersebar di 30 kota di Indonesia. Senang sekali bisa bertemu dengan Bapak Ibu para edukator, para pendidik semuanya. Sudah 7 tahun lamanya Sekolah Ciputra menyelenggarakan konferensi ini. Kegiatan ini merupakan wadah bagi guru-guru Sekolah Ciputra untuk memberikan sumbangsih bagi kemajuan pendidikan di Indonesia. Kegiatan kali ini bertema New Era of Education. Terdapat 30 kelas workshop yang menarik untuk diikuti dan 1 keynote session yang sebentar lagi akan kita dengarkan bersama. Sebelum kita mulai sesi utama kita, mari kita bersama-sama untuk bangkit berdiri untuk menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya, diikuti oleh doa bersama yang akan dipimpin oleh Ibu Desita.
Good morning to all educators from 11 provinces and 30 cities around Indonesia. Welcome to the 2022 School to School Virtual Conference. It is so great to see you all here. The School to School Virtual Conference is a conference in which teachers from Sekolah Ciputra share their experiences with teachers around Indonesia. It has been 7 years since we first held this event. This year, our theme is the new era of education. We will have 30 interesting workshops, as well as one keynote session led by Ms. Christine State. Before we begin, let us all stand for Indonesia Raya and a prayer led by Bu Desita.
Please be seated. Hadirin, dipersilakan duduk. Selanjutnya, kami mengundang Ibu Desita untuk memimpin acara hari ini dalam doa.
Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, mari kita sejenak berdoa untuk acara kita sepanjang hari ini. Bapak Ibu dipersilakan berdoa menurut agama dan kepercayaan masing-masing. Mari kita berdoa. Allah yang Maha Kasih, perkenankan kami mengucap syukur dan berterima kasih atas kebaikan dan kesehatan yang Engkau berikan, sehingga kami dapat berkumpul bersama di dalam acara School to School Virtual Conference tahun 2022 ini. Tuhan, Engkau yang mempunyai hikmat dan segala pengetahuan, dan Engkau yang mengajar kami untuk saling berbagi dan menolong satu sama lain. Berikan kelancaran pada acara hari ini, supaya kami dapat saling mengisi, saling belajar satu sama lain. Berikan hikmat-Mu kepada semua pembicara dan peserta, supaya kami dapat memahami makna pendidikan yang sebenarnya, dan nama-Mu dimuliakan. Engkau yang mempunyai segala pengetahuan dan hikmat. Terima kasih Tuhan. Di dalam nama-Mu yang kudus, kami berdoa. Amin.
Terima kasih Ibu Desita. Seperti Bapak Ibu telah ketahui bahwa Kemendikbudristek mencetuskan profil pelajar Indonesia sebagai pedoman untuk pendidikan di Indonesia. Pelajar Pancasila adalah perwujudan pelajar Indonesia sebagai pelajar sepanjang hayat yang memiliki kompetensi global dan berperilaku sesuai dengan nilai-nilai Pancasila. Dengan 6 ciri utama: beriman, bertakwa kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, dan berakhlak mulia, berkebinekaan global, bergotong royong, mandiri, bernalar kritis, dan kreatif. Hal ini sejalan dengan nilai-nilai yang dianut oleh Sekolah Ciputra. Untuk merefleksikan profil pelajar Pancasila, Yunmi dan Yuna, pelajar dari Korea Selatan, dengan arahan dari Mr. Denny, menarikan tarian dengan gerakan yang ritmis yang melambangkan persatuan Indonesia melalui pemahaman budaya, bahasa, dan adat istiadat. Mari kita saksikan bersama penampilan berikut ini.
Thank you, Ms. Desita. As you may know, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology has encouraged Profil Pelajar Indonesia as the basis for education in Indonesia. Pelajar Pancasila is an embodiment of students as lifelong and globally competent learners who act according to Pancasila values. It is constituted of 6 main characteristics: having faith, worshiping God, being of noble character, globally united in diversity, possessing the ability to work together, being independent, as well as being able to critically and creatively think. These values are reflected in the IB learner profiles we apply here at Sekolah Ciputra. Now, let us watch a dance performance showing Profil Pelajar Pancasila performed by South Korean students Yunmi and Yuna and guided by Mr. Denny.
Terima kasih Yunmi dan Yuna. Untuk selanjutnya, waktu dan tempat kami persilakan kepada Mr. Sam untuk memberikan laporan kegiatan acara ini.
What a beautiful performance. Next, let us welcome Mr. Sam to give a report on today's conference.
Baik, Bapak Ibu sekalian, peserta School to School Conference pagi hari ini, selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Pertama-tama, marilah kita panjatkan puja dan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena pada kesempatan yang baik ini, yang sangat indah ini, kita bisa berkumpul meskipun secara online di acara School to School Virtual Conference tahun 2022 dengan kondisi yang sehat walafiat. Tentunya kita boleh bersyukur kita masih diberikan kesehatan sampai hari ini. Baiklah, saya ingin memberikan laporan singkat terkait konferensi tahun 2022 sekarang ini. Bapak Ibu sekalian, para peserta konferensi, tentunya atas nama panitia, ya kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas kepercayaan dari Bapak Ibu kepada kami, sehingga kita bisa menjalankan ya kegiatan konferensi ini di pagi hari ini. Tentunya kami sangat mengapresiasi partisipasi dari Bapak Ibu sekalian. Keputusan untuk menyelenggarakan kegiatan ini secara full online tentunya didasarkan pada berbagai masukan dan juga pertimbangan yang matang dengan tujuan untuk kebaikan kita bersama dan keselamatan dari semua pihak. Pada kesempatan ini, saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa konferensi ini dihadiri sekitar 450 peserta dari 11 provinsi dan 30 kota kabupaten, baik dari Medan, Batam, Jakarta, Jogja, Solo, Balikpapan, Samarinda, Bali, Bone, Kupang, dan hingga Pulau Papua. Ini adalah sesuatu yang patut kita syukuri, di mana kita bisa dipersatukan di konferensi ini. Kita juga berterima kasih kepada Yayasan Sekolah Ciputra, pimpinan Sekolah Ciputra yang telah memberikan perhatian dan dukungannya untuk terselenggaranya kegiatan ini. Kemudian ucapan terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Miss Christine selaku keynote speaker, kemudian juga semua workshop facilitators yang telah menyiapkan 30 kelas workshop untuk konferensi kali ini. Ini adalah tahun ke-7 konferensi School to School, tetapi ini adalah tahun pertama kita menyelenggarakan secara online. Saya secara pribadi mengucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh panitia yang telah bekerja keras di balik layar dari sejak persiapan, pendaftaran peserta, hingga pelaksanaan acara hari ini. Saya melihat kerjasama tim yang baik di dalam pelaksanaannya. Akhirnya, kami berharap acara ini bisa berjalan dengan lancar dan membawa hasil yang maksimal bagi peserta, sehingga kita bisa bersama-sama memajukan pendidikan di Indonesia. Semoga ke depan kita dapat memperbesar kapasitas forum ini, sehingga bisa menjangkau seluruh provinsi, bahkan di tingkat regional. Akhirnya selamat belajar bagi semua peserta. Semoga Tuhan memberkati kita semua. Amin. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Sam. After this, our executive principal, Mr. Martin, will give a welcoming speech. Mr. Martin, the floor is yours.
Bapak, Ibu-ibu, guru-guru semua, selamat pagi, selamat datang di konferensi School to School 2022. Senang sekali untuk menyambut Anda semua di konferensi ini. Thank you everybody for joining us today. It's a wonderful occasion. It's fantastic to have so many teachers together, albeit virtually, to celebrate education. I agree with what Pat Sam said in his speech, that if we work together, we'll all succeed. And that's the point of conferences like this. We work together, we learn, and we grow together. So please, after you come back from the conference, take some of the ideas and within the first week, put them into practice. That's the big thing about professional development. You experience the ideas and then you take them back with you and you adjust them for your own individual circumstances. I want to thank Pat Sam and his team for organizing this conference. It's a very, very difficult thing, and made all the more difficult because we didn't know right till the last minute whether we would be hybrid or fully online. So to be honest, they had to organize 2 conferences. I want to thank Ms. Christine for the job she's going to do as a keynote speaker. Ms. Christine is an inspirational speaker and an inspirational educator, and I'm sure you'll learn lots from her. I'd also like to thank all the workshop leaders for giving up their time on a Saturday morning. Thank you so much. Indicative of what a wonderful team we have here at Psychology Putra. But lastly, I'd like to thank you, all the teachers in the different provinces, the different areas of Indonesia. You are inspirational people. It's not easy being a teacher, leading young people, and particularly in these circumstances. And your willingness to give up your time, your enthusiasm, and your passion for teaching is absolutely inspirational. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Semoga Anda semua selalu sehat. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Mr. Martin. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Dalam kesempatan ini, kami juga mengundang Bapak Denny Bernardos selaku wakil dari Yayasan Ciputra Pendidikan. Beliau sangat senang sekali bahwa kegiatan ini dapat berlangsung. Mari kita dengarkan bersama pesan-pesan dari beliau melalui video singkat berikut.
Now we would like to invite Mr. Denny Bernardos, a member of the Sekolah Ciputra board, to give a speech.
Selamat pagi, saya sampaikan saya Denny Bernardos selaku Yayasan Ciputra Pendidikan di mana Sekolah Ciputra bernaung. Berbahagia sekali meskipun dalam situasi masih pandemi, kita dapat berkumpul dalam sebuah acara yang inovatif dan berbagi. Penting sekali bagi kami untuk berbagi karena menurut founders kami Pak Ciputra dengan hand sign entrepreneurship, kata berbagi itu adalah mencerminkan E yang ketiga. Menurut beliau, salam entrepreneur ini adalah ekspresi diri, ekonomi sejahtera, dan empati pada sesama. Jadi, Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya menyampaikan selamat kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian dalam melaksanakan School to School Virtual Conference yang ke-7 kali. Kami merasa senang dan bahagia karena sekolah kami, Sekolah Ciputra, dapat menyelenggarakan konferensi ini meskipun ya dilakukan secara inovatif. Dengan konferensi virtual ini tentu membuka kesempatan kepada kita semua dari seluruh penjuru tanah air untuk dapat bersama-sama bergabung ya untuk berbagi terhadap hal-hal apa yang kami lakukan di Surabaya. Sekali lagi harapan founder Ciputra Group, Pak Ciputra, untuk kami dapat menjadi manfaat bagi lebih banyak orang, bagi lebih banyak sekolah. Terima kasih kepada semua peserta. Saya ucapkan selamat mengikuti konferensi ini hingga pada akhir acara. Semoga kegiatan ini menjadikan pengalaman belajar yang baru dan memberikan manfaat bagi masing-masing institusi di tempat Bapak Ibu sekalian melakukan pelayanannya. Terima kasih. Salam entrepreneur.
Nah, tiba saatnya sesi yang ditunggu-tunggu, yakni sesi keynote session yang akan dibawakan oleh Miss Christine State. Bapak Ibu tentu sudah mendapatkan materi terjemahan yang telah kami kirimkan. Apabila Bapak Ibu memiliki pertanyaan seputar materi yang dibawakan, silakan untuk menuliskan pada kolom chat pada Zoom ini. Sekali lagi, apabila Bapak Ibu semuanya memiliki pertanyaan seputar materi yang dibawakan, silakan untuk menuliskan pada kolom chat pada Zoom ini. Sebelum kita dengarkan sesi beliau, saya dan Nasya akan membacakan biografi beliau secara singkat. Christine is a primary trained teacher who, for the first 20 years of her career, worked in Australia. As a classroom teacher, an expressive arts teacher, a religion coordinator, a curriculum vice principal, a school musical director, and a principal. During the second half of her career, she lived and worked in 5 continents and coached and mentored teachers and principals in the Middle East, and was the director of a British girls' school in Peru.
As she has journeyed from the classroom to curriculum development and finally to leadership, she has endeavored to ensure that her first love, sustainability, continues to be an integral part of every school she has worked in or led. Based on the philosophy and directives of Agenda 21 of the United Nations Rio Earth Summit of 1992, Christine spearheaded the development and implementation of the Education for Sustainable Development policies in many schools in South America. She facilitated the creation of the Latin America Heads Council Region AESD Committee, and she was a co-founder of the annual LAHC ESD Student Conference. She was a research contributor for Peru to the UNESCO research paper, The Contributions of Education for Sustainable Development to Quality Education, and in 2016, completed her Master of Science degree in Education for Sustainability from London South Bank University. As a coordinating PYP principal at Sekolah Ciputra, Surabaya, Indonesia, she brings her experience and passion for sustainability and the SDGs into her leadership. This ensures that creativity and curiosity is embedded in the programs of inquiry in order to promote action and to make the world a better place. Her work in sustainability has only just begun in Indonesia, but she believes that it is an essential component of the new era of education. So now let us welcome Ms. Christine to give her keynote speech.
Good morning, my beautiful people in Surabaya. Good morning, my beautiful people throughout Indonesia. I'm not just saying this to get your attention, although I did do that exact thing, didn't I? I just love that greeting because most of us aren't told we are beautiful people in a day, and we should be. Not because we are necessarily beautiful, whatever that might mean, but because there is potential for beauty in each single person. Beauty in the form of kindness, beauty in the form of compassion, beauty in the form of respect, beauty in the form of hope, beauty in the form of love. When I say, good morning, my beautiful people, I'm acknowledging the potential for beauty. And that very potential is what brought us all here today. The potential of a transformational education for a new era. The potential in the beauty of change. The potential in the beauty of learning. I feel extremely privileged and honoured to have been invited to deliver this keynote speech today. I'm excited about sharing with you my thoughts about the role I see educators and leaders playing in the development of this new era. I can see potential and I can see beauty all around me this morning. So, good morning, my beautiful people. I'd like to thank our lovely MCs for that introduction. Sometimes when you hear your professional history articulated, it is daunting to realise that you've packed so much into your life. And then you realise how old you are. Our theme today is a new era of education, building a transformational education for the ever-changing situation and times. You know, I think we are in the best profession to know about change and adaptation. Let's face it, when has education not been facing changing situations and times? If there was ever an institute, an organisation more ready to survive the challenges of changing times and situations, it is the education system. And just to demonstrate that, just to demonstrate the ever-changing situation and times education has faced, please indulge me as I take a stroll down memory lane. Here are a few ideas, a few innovations, a few initiatives, a few disasters that represent the changes we as educators have been required to accept, embed, discard, and then re-accept over at least the last 36 years that I've been teaching. So here we go. Academic standards, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, cooperative learning, benchmarks, concepts, extrinsic motivation, intrinsic motivation, heterogeneous groups, personalized learning, differentiation, accommodations, adaptive learning, phonemic awareness, IEPs, ASD, MP3, to mention but a few. So many changes, different situations, and different times. So the topic today actually is partly something we are all quite familiar with. I personally, during the course of my 3-decade career, have lived through not one, not two, but sometimes 3 laps of the same initiative or reform that our education systems or experts deem necessary. It was mastering math and whole language in the 80s. It was the data-driven curriculum, learning stations, and the open classroom in the 90s. And of course, let's not forget phonetics, that just like the Rolling Stones is always touring, but with a new album cover. Different situations and changing times. Education and schools have been weathering and surviving the whimsical dreams of academia and the maligned directions of politicians for centuries. Education is the quintessential environment for ever-changing situations and times. So do you know what? I don't think I need to talk about changing times and situations today. I'm also not going to talk about what the new era of education might look like. I'm not going to talk about curriculum, pedagogy, resilience, determination, or grit. I'm definitely not going to talk about assessment, reporting, or data analysis. I'm not going to talk about learning pathways, learning environments, or learning resources. I'm not going to talk about 21st century skills or the jobs that don't exist yet. I am most definitely not going to mention anything related to digital literacy or technology, and the words hybrid, face-to-face, or online learning are totally off limits. The new era of transformation education, the curriculum, the approaches to teaching and learning, the pedagogy, all the intrinsic elements of what this era will look like in an ever-changing situation and times are not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm going to leave this to those amazing and talented teachers and leaders who will be leading the workshops later this morning. Today, you will learn how this new era of transformational education can come alive with the vast array of learning experiences that we have lined up for you. Today, I want to talk about you. You, the teacher, the teaching assistant, the educator, and the leader. Today, I want to dig deep and look at what I believe you're going to need to fulfill your role in building this new era of education. And I'm not talking about your role as a facilitator in the inquiry-based classroom. And I'm not talking about your role as a guide or mentor in a personalized learning space. I'm talking about those incredibly important qualities that you will need to allow you to be an inspiration to students, that will allow you to be the strength of this new era. Today, I want to rouse you to be the spirit of this new era, to be the inspiration and the influences, to recognize the qualities you already possess that make you perfect champions of transformation. This era of transformation cannot happen without transformative individuals. And those individuals are you. Today, I want to talk about respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. Four pretty powerful, thought-provoking, and emotive words. Respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. And I want to ask you this question. Do you believe that you can build a new era of transformational education with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration? Do you believe that you can build a new era of transformational education with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration? And I believe you can. I graduated as a teacher in 1985, and I began teaching the following year. I was 20 years old. I taught 28 grade 2 students, and we taught everything: math, English, science, art, drama, PE, social studies, religion, music, and personal development. We taught from 8:30 to 3 p.m. every day, with 3 lunchtime duties. All our planning was done in our own time. Meetings took place at lunchtime or after school, and the students and I cleaned the classrooms. But I had so much enthusiasm that at times I thought it was going to explode out of my body. I was born to be a teacher, although I had always wanted to be an actress. I think I got to have both careers rolled into one. One day, one of my vice principals called me into her office, and I was so excited. I thought she was going to congratulate me on the amazing paper mache cave that I had created at the front of my classroom. It adorned the whole entrance. I thought she might actually want to congratulate me on the rock recorder performance that my grade 2 class had done at the school fete. No, her exact words were this: "You're always bouncing around with your cute little ideas and your big smiley face. Well, maybe you better calm down. Don't think that's going to last forever. All this energy you have won't last forever. So maybe calm down and stop putting pressure on the other teachers. You'll be like the rest of us one day." Wow. Yeah, right. I was 20 years old. I was at the beginning of my career, a career I thought that would allow me to make a difference in the world, to be part of a transformational education system. And this was a leader saying this to me. I had a big cry. And when I cry big, I cry ugly, so it wasn't pretty. And then I vowed to prove her wrong. I mean, I knew I could, because my God-given gift of ADHD gave me more energy than 100 people. So I was never going to be like the rest of them. This experience could have destroyed me, but it didn't. It didn't because that was the day I decided that I wasn't going to change how I approached my job. I wasn't going to change how I approached life. I wasn't going to tone down my enthusiasm, but I was going to do whatever I could to bring people like that woman along with me. I decided that I would show some respect to that woman who obviously didn't like me. I would try to modify the way she saw me, and I would bring love to the table. I made a conscious decision that day to see every person from a place of love and respect. To initiate transformation, you need to demonstrate transformation. And that's actually when I started greeting colleagues with, "Good morning, my beautiful people," because it helped me to see the potential in even the most difficult people. And it helped me to put respect and love at the center of my daily life. It has helped me throughout my career to remember that exact transformative experience. Of course, I did a lot more than just bring love to the table, because let's face it, despite the fact that the Beatles thought that all we needed was love, we know that getting past conflict needs a little more than that. What I did next was I embarked on some critical reflection, and I started to develop more self-awareness. And what this did was that it helped me to determine when to shine and when to share. This was a critical moment in my career development because it allowed me to respect and love those parts of myself that were great and to cultivate collaborative relationships with my colleagues. And it allowed me to show respect and love to others by making sure I worked harder at never inadvertently intimidating another person. And remember, this was the 80s. This was the time before self-reflection and before goal setting, before performance appraisal. This was a painful process, but it was transformative. As a young professional, I transformed because of the way I chose to handle a potentially devastating situation. I chose not to hate. I chose respect and love. And do you know how many times over the years I've dug deep to allow that story to resurface so that I might inspire a student to do the same? And this is what you do every day in so many different ways, helping your students to show respect for themselves, respect for others, and respect for their beautiful world. And this is why I believe the first quality we need as educators in this new era is respect. This is the first tool you will need. You'll need to have it in what I call our construction kit for the new era of education, the tool of respect. Let me tell you another story. This one takes place in 1992, and it's about a Christmas gift and a priest. I was teaching grade 6, and I was at a little Catholic school, and I'd been there for 7 years. This was my second school. And I was still totally in love with teaching. I was in love with everything. I was in love with the planning, the teaching, the reporting, the students, the parents, everything. Actually, I was totally in love with everything in life: people, places, music, arts, the world. I was in love with life. My positivity, no doubt, annoyed some. I was aware of that because of the self-awareness that I experienced and the critical reflection that I always did. But I was okay because actually I loved everyone, and naively I thought everyone loved me. So here I was, loving life, teaching up a storm, being super creative and innovative, and enjoying actually a greater degree of autonomy in my classroom than our teachers enjoy today. So it was pretty awesome. Christmas came around, and like many schools, we had a Secret Santa. And on the last day, we all received our Secret Santa presents. I unwrapped mine, and it was a pair of rose-tinted glasses. I looked around, and I spotted our parish priest grinning from ear to ear, and I knew he was my Secret Santa. Father Paul sauntered over to me and in his lilting Irish accent said, "Ah, Christine, do you realise why I've given you these glasses?" And I replied that I didn't really know. And with this next sentence, he paid me what I consider to be the most wonderful compliment in the world. He said he gave me the rose-tinted glasses because he believed that's the way I saw the world, and he never wanted me to stop that. He wanted me to always have a real pair just in case I got weary of being hopeful. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses, it means to see things in a very optimistic way, sometimes unrealistic. For me, it's all about seeing the world through special lenses with a specific perspective based on optimism and joy. I see the world through rose-tinted glasses. I see the world through hope. And in 1992, it was pretty easy to have hope. We were living in an era of great prosperity and anything was possible. It was the year of the Rio Earth Summit, a summit of hope and response. The Rio Earth Summit produced conventions that dealt with climate change, that dealt with biodiversity, that dealt with forestry, that dealt with the ocean. And from this, we got Agenda 21. This was a time of hope where the world agreed that sustainable development was not just about economic growth, but it was also about ecological responsibility. It was a defining moment in sustainability history because it was an opportunity to define pathways to a safer, more equitable, cleaner, greener, and hopefully more prosperous world for all. Hope is what drove the Rio Earth Summit. Hope is what developed the Millennium Goals. And subsequently, hope is what has given us the Sustainable Development Goals. Hope is what's been driving the sustainability movement for the last 20 years. And if we are going to be talking about a new era of education where transformation takes place, then we need hope. Every teacher, every leader, every single educator needs to be paying a lot more attention to the Sustainable Development Goals and embracing this sense of hope and these tools of hope. These are the tools of hope that each and every one of us as educators need to know deeply and commit to wholeheartedly. As educators, we need to embed these SDGs into our curriculum, into our campus practices, protocols, and procedures. And we need to indoctrinate our communities with this hope-filled, scientifically based information. As educators, we need to fill our students with the sense of hope and faith that every small action is worth something. That if 9 billion people all performed one small action, transformation would take place. At this point, let me return to the question I posed at the beginning of my presentation. Do you believe that we can build an era, a new era of transformational education with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration? Respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. As I've mentioned, I believe these 4 attributes are what I consider to be the tools you need in your construction kit for the new era of education. So now you have respect and now you have hope. So let's look at responsibility. As educators, we consider ourselves fairly responsible people, but that's not what I'm talking about. This new era doesn't need responsible people. What it needs are educators who are prepared to take responsibility for inspiring others by being courageous and taking risks, by taking action and being role models. Our students do not need the provision of more information. What they need is the outpouring of inspiration. They need to be saturated in acts of kindness. They need to be saturated in deeds of compassion. They need to witness action that demonstrates to them that being responsible for the well-being of others and being responsible to others is what builds a better world. The situation we find ourselves in, the state of this precious earth, it can be overwhelming for students. It can be overwhelming for us. But with a strong sense of responsibility, we, the educators and the school leaders, can move past this despair and fear that we often feel and look for solutions. We can be sources of inspiration in this new era of education. And we can do this by using the SDGs as anchors on which to secure scientifically based knowledge and hope-filled ideas. We have 17 amazing goals that can help us recognize which problems we are responsible for causing and which problems we are responsible for solving. We can recognize who we are responsible to as members of our local and global society, and we can take action. And in doing so, we can inspire our students to do the same. As teachers and as leaders, it is our responsibility to be the respectful, hope-filled adults in the lives of our students, and to develop their habits of minds, their points of view, their frames of reference around being responsible for themselves, being responsible for others, and being responsible for our precious earth. And also being responsible to others. You know, I'd say probably to maybe a decade ago, we were all obsessed with our rights, with assuming our rights, with ensuring that children knew what their rights were. But really, what we need to do is ensure that we educators are building a new era of education, firmly rooted in the knowledge that it is all of our responsibility to ensure that everyone's rights are acknowledged and protected. I read recently that responsibility is accepting that you are the cause and the solution of the matter. And if we as teachers and educators can accept this, then we will indeed have acquired our third and fourth tools for our construction kit: responsibility and inspiration. Through our hands comes every profession. Think about that. Through our hands comes every profession. We teachers, perhaps the most underappreciated, underestimated, and definitely underpaid professionals in the world, are responsible for creating every other profession. Through our hands come the captains of enterprise, the humanitarians, the presidents, and tyrants, the inventors, the astronauts, the builders and the breakers, the people who build beautiful families, and the people who put other people back together through our hands. And if we want a more compassionate, more equitable, more dignified and kind-hearted society, then these hands need to be bathed and softened and strengthened with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. I believe transformational education is based on the idea that the teacher's purpose is greater than delivering information. That when the teacher brings respect, hope, responsibility, and finally inspiration to the place of learning, then the potential to create the beauty of learning will be fulfilled. Do I believe you have potential? Absolutely, you have the potential. Do I believe that you can build this new era of transformational education with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration? I have no doubt. Our role in creating transformational, transformative, life-changing education requires in abundance respect and love, hope and responsibility, and finally inspiration. We have the most important job in the world because as teachers, as leaders, as mentors, and as coaches, we will shape the passion and compassion of hundreds, thousands, millions of students. And these students will be our legacy. They will be our gift to the world. Go out there and help create this new era with respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. Just go out there and do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the inspiring keynote speech, Ms. Christine. The fact that education has survived multitudinous challenges and changes is so interesting. Most importantly, we have learned so much about how respect, responsibility, and hope are the driving force in the new era of education.
Wah, menarik sekali ya apa yang telah disampaikan oleh Miss Christine tadi. Saya sempat mencatat nih ya beberapa hal yang penting sekali. Apabila hadirin ada pertanyaan, bisa dapat langsung diketik di kolom chat ya, kirimkan sekarang bisa, atau bisa langsung mengangkat tangan. Sekali lagi, apabila hadirin semuanya Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan, tidak apa-apa ya, dapat diketik di kolom chat atau bisa dapat langsung mengangkat tangan. Baik, ini adalah saatnya untuk question and answer, Q&A. Jadi saya akan membantu membacakan beberapa pertanyaan yang sudah muncul di sini. Ini yang pertama adalah dari Ibu Tari. Saya Tari dari Gresik. Saya suka dan sepakat sekali dengan paparan keynote pagi ini. Insight yang luar biasa bagi saya, khususnya makna kata respect. Dalam pendidikan era baru, kita tidak bisa menghindari migrasi generasi klasikal menuju peradaban milenium, di mana membutuhkan sistem pendidikan berbasis keterampilan. Nah, pendidikan yang membuka peluang tanpa batas pada semua anak, serta pendidikan yang mampu beradaptasi dengan situasi dan kondisi globalisasi. Maka menurut Anda, bagaimana tips sekolah untuk memfasilitasi anak milenial yang merupakan generasi Y ya saat ini, generasi yang semuanya serba canggih, serba komputer. Nah, kami mencoba untuk membantu menerjemahkan, Ibu Christine ya. Terima kasih untuk Bapak Samuel di situ. I'm Tari from Gresik. I agree with the keynote speaker information and it gives me insight, especially from the word respect itself. In the new era of education, we cannot avoid a classical generation to enter the millennium education. which the new era of education needs skills, and it becomes a challenge and provide unlimited opportunities for all students. Also, education in new era is it is able to adapt with all situations, and it will be globally. So what will be the best tips and strategies, and how school can facilitate those millennial generation, which is Y generation? Thank you. Terima kasih.
Right. Well, there's a lot in that. But I think I'm going to come back to the core of what I've been talking about this morning, and that is respect, because all of those skills and skill sets, the soft skills, also the competencies and the knowledge that students will need in the future, they are going to come from multiple sources. And we're going to have to be able to teach our students how to discern what information is scientifically based, what information is real, and what information is purely opinion. So this is where the need to consult and collaborate with peers and colleagues, and perhaps intergenerational discussions need to take place. And that's where this respect comes from. The millennial group of students are growing up in many cases, perhaps not so much in Indonesia, but in many cases, they're growing up in nuclear families where they don't have that intergenerational discussion with older people. And so the only information they're getting is basically from their own peers. So I think it's really important that we build into at home and at school the respect for the opinions and the stories of other generations, of other people, and growing a respect of the perspective of other people as well.
Oke, ya. Jadi saya akan menyampaikan poinnya saja ya. Jadi kita bisa memberikan satu pendidikan kepada anak-anak generasi Y, milenial sekarang ini, untuk saling ya respect, menghormati, baik dari generasi sebelumnya. Jadi ada satu rasa hormat ya antara generasi sebelumnya dengan generasi milenial. Meskipun mereka sudah mendapatkan keterampilan, pengetahuan, dan tentunya mereka juga mensortir pengetahuan yang ada, apakah itu betul-betul fakta atau pendapat. Tapi yang terpenting adalah di antara dua generasi yang berbeda ini, mereka juga ada saling menghargai, saling menghormati. Jadi ada pengalaman bagaimana mereka belajar respect kepada generasi sebelumnya. Itulah yang perlu kita tekankan di sini.
I'd just like to add to that also, because there's another aspect of this that we don't talk about much, but it's really a big change that's happened in society over the last 20 years. And being the mother of Generation Y and the grandmother of a millennial, I can see this in my own family. Once upon a time, we all had some kind of faith-based family history, or we went to a school that was faith-based, right? I went to a Catholic school, so and my family was Catholic, so everything was, you know, very much based around that. And in Surabaya, in Indonesia, there's a multitude of faiths. But the problem is today, we all have a religion still, but we don't practice it. A lot of people are non-practicing. And going to non-religious schools, it makes the job of the teacher, the job of the system, even more important in embedding in the programs those aspects of respect and love and compassion that may not exist in their systems at home through religion. So that's why our job as teachers in this new era of education really has to be based on all these affective, emotive attributes: love, compassion, faith, respect, because sometimes, many times, these students aren't living this in their day-to-day life. They're not hearing these messages all the time. So we have to make sure that they hear it from everything we do in school.
Ya, jadi Miss Christine juga menceritakan bagaimana dia menjadi orang tua, bahkan grandma, ya. Jadi seorang nenek bagi anak dan cucu dalam lingkungan yang juga anak dari generasi Y, juga generasi milenial. Tentunya dari pengalaman ini dia juga bisa menyampaikan apa yang terjadi. Bahkan kalau misalkan kita dalam dunia pendidikan yang tidak berdasarkan misalnya faith-based, ya, jadi sekolah yang sifatnya umum, terbuka untuk umum, tentunya kita bisa memberikan kesempatan kepada anak didik kita bagaimana mereka mendapatkan pengalaman terkait dengan aspek-aspek tersebut. Jadi ada respect, ada kasih sayang, terus kemudian ada juga menginspirasi, dan banyak aspek lain yang sangat diperlukan ketika mereka berada di lingkungan keluarga ataupun lingkungan-lingkungan lain yang tentunya mereka tidak mendapatkan hal-hal tersebut yang bisa kita setting atau menjadi satu sistem yang bisa kita terapkan di dunia pendidikan, khususnya di mana kita mengajar. Nah, itu sangat penting, bahwa inilah yang tentunya menjadi tanggung jawab kita bersama sebagai pendidik, bagaimana memberikan pengalaman belajar bagi mereka, generasi Y, generasi milenial, untuk mendapatkan satu proses pendidikan ini, yaitu melibatkan respect, mereka ada rasa hormat, ada kepedulian, ada kasih sayang, dan atribut-atribut lain yang tentunya sangat diperlukan, ya, bagi mereka ketika mereka berada di lingkungan yang mereka tentunya terkadang belum mendapatkan pengalaman itu.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak Sam dan juga Ibu Christine untuk jawabannya. Semoga jawaban itu menjawab pertanyaan dari Ibu Tari, ya. Oke. Dari chat kami ada 2 pertanyaan lagi dari Ibu Ani dari Surabaya. Apakah hal yang disampaikan oleh pembicara bisa diaplikasikan dan diterapkan untuk siswa SD atau siswa usia dini? Bagaimana caranya? Mohon petunjuknya. So, can we apply this for young learners and how to do it?
Okay, I think, gosh, I think for young learners, it's so much easier because you can actually do it. So you can not only demonstrate the actions of respect and hope and responsibility and inspiration, but you can actually articulate that to them more so than older students, because with the older students, you want them to kind of have those aha moments where they go, oh, right, that's what you meant by inspiration. Now I understand. But with the younger students, you can actually teach them what it's all about. We teach them every day about respect, through everything we do. But I keep coming back to this one thing. It has to be in here, right? The teachers have to have these things inside them. And if you have that inside you, it's going to come out in everything you do. If you work from a place of love and respect and hope, that's the way you're going to teach. You're always going to be optimistic. You're always going to be joyful. You're going to bounce into your classrooms with the belief that you are going to make a difference that day. And you inspire children without even knowing it. But sometimes when it happens, you can say, wow, that you really inspired me. Do you know what that means? That means that you've given me something to really think about that I didn't think about before. You're inspirational. You go home and tell your mum that you're inspirational because you did something really amazing today that made everybody think in a different way. So I think, with the younger ones, it's just as easy as with the older ones. And in fact, you start from birth. You can start from birth. inspiring, bringing hope, bringing joy, bringing love.
Ya, jadi poinnya ketika kita menerapkannya di kelas-kelas baik SD maupun TK, tentunya ini juga sangat mudah. Jadi semudah ketika kita mengajarkan yang sudah dewasa. Dalam artian kita bisa memberikan contoh karena semuanya berangkat dari dalam diri kita. Jadi ketika kita ada satu keyakinan bahwa respect, love, dan termasuk hope itu juga memberikan inspirasi juga, menjadi satu keyakinan kita. Ketika kita melakukan sesuatu secara otomatis kita bisa menjadi contoh bagi mereka. Ketika anak kecil bisa melakukan sesuatu dan menginspirasi, kita bisa menyampaikan pujian kepada anak tersebut dan bisa menceritakan kepada keluarganya bahwa dia telah melakukan sesuatu yang berkaitan dengan bagaimana menginspirasi, bagaimana memberikan rasa hormat, berikan kasih sayang dan harapan. Jadi hal-hal tersebut sebenarnya sesuatu yang bisa kita lakukan sebagai satu tindakan atau action sehari-hari dalam pembelajaran di kelas, terutama bagi anak-anak yang masih kecil usia SD ataupun TK.
Baik, memberikan contoh ya, itu kunci utama. Baik, kami sudah diingatkan oleh panitia, jadi kami akan membacakan satu pertanyaan terakhir dari Ibu Maria. Bagaimana kita sebagai guru mengintegrasikan ini dengan kurikulum sekolah? Terima kasih. So, how do we integrate this into the school curriculum? Thank you. Ini akan jadi pertanyaan terakhir. Terima kasih.
Right, okay, well, there's actually two ways I see as doing this. Every school, most schools, every school should have a social, emotional, effective learning program that addresses these kinds of issues in a curriculum academic, well, not academic, but like it's a way that they're taught. So in our school, we have what we call a SEAL program that each student has a lesson in. But that is a lesson, that's a once a week. So to really embed, and I'm just going to keep going back to the same thing, to embed this into your curriculum, to embed this into your school campus, into your school community, you need to be thinking, how do I respect and love myself? How do I respect and love others? And how do I respect and love this world? And I'm going to go back to the Sustainable Development Goals, because if you have them embedded in your curriculum, you can't help but keep talking about respect, hope, responsibility, and inspiration. It's just, you can't avoid it. So, having a great program like a SEAL program, but also then making sure that the SDGs are in your curriculum and that you are also coming from here. Remember, it's coming from here. You've got to believe it. You're the people that are the influencers, not the Kylie Jenners or the whoever's on Instagram. You are the influencers. You get more access to these children than anybody else. So give them respect, give them the love, give them the hope, give them the passion, but give it to them in specific ways where they can learn strategies that help them, but also in implicit ways, right? Through looking at the world through a different lens.
Oke, jadi sebagai contoh ya bagaimana menggabungkan atau mengintegrasikan dalam kurikulum sekolah, kami di Sekolah Ciputra kita ada yang namanya program SEAL, jadi Social Emotional Aspect of Learning. Dari situ kita juga mengajarkan jadi aspek-aspek terkait dengan social emotional anak. Nah, seminggu sekali, tetapi juga yang terpenting adalah dari kita sendiri. Kita harus menerapkan menjadi contoh, menjadi satu tindakan kita, bagaimana kita respect, love, and hope juga itu terjadi dalam kehidupan kita sehari-hari. Guru sebaiknya atau alangkah baiknya guru menjadi inspirasi bagi peserta didik di mana mereka mengajar. Tidak hanya seorang aktris atau seorang aktor yang menjadi inspirasi bagi anak-anak kita, alangkah baiknya ketika mereka melihat guru-gurunya menjadi inspirasi bagi mereka. Bagaimana mereka bisa melihat satu contoh, satu teladan di lingkungan kelas, di lingkungan sekolah, di komunitas sekolah, bagaimana respect itu terjadi, terwujud, terimplementasi, ya ternyatakan melalui kegiatan sehari-hari. Nah, itulah yang terpenting. Sehingga kita bisa membangun satu lingkungan yang positif dan kita bisa terapkan. Karena kalau mengandalkan hanya satu minggu sekali ataupun secara pengajaran ya, tentunya itu tidak seberapa efektif. Ya.
Baik, terima kasih Miss Christine dan juga Bapak Sam untuk penjelasannya. Sesi question and answer kita tutup karena terbatasnya waktu. Apabila masih memiliki pertanyaan, Bapak Ibu bisa dikirimkan melalui panitia. Terima kasih banyak. Baiklah, acara selanjutnya adalah sebelum acara ini berakhir, kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama. Nah, ini adalah acara yang ditunggu-tunggu juga ya, untuk kita semua punya kenang-kenangan ya. Bapak Ibu dimohon untuk membuka kamera masing-masing. Kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama.
Participants, we will have a photo session. Please turn on your cameras and smile.
Ibu Cornelia akan membantu kita untuk mengarahkan ya. Bapak Ibu semuanya, mohon sekali lagi yang masih belum membuka kameranya, silakan dinyalakan. Kita mengundang Ibu Cornelia ya untuk mengarahkan kita semua. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Miss. Bapak Ibu selamat pagi. Ini ada 10 halaman, jadi mohon bersabar Ibu ya. Oke, untuk halaman 1, silakan kalau semisalkan Bapak Ibu yang belum membuka kameranya, silakan dibuka kameranya. Kemudian kalau semisalkan mau ada emoticon, love, atau mungkin apa-apa, silakan ya. Untuk halaman 1, saya akan duduk sebentar ya. 1, 2, 3.
Mohon bersabar. Senyumnya tetap disunggingkan ya Bapak Ibu semuanya ya.
Oke, halaman 2. Oke. Kemudian halaman 3. Halaman 4.
Masih jauh ini halamannya ya.
Ya, masih ada 11 halaman, Miss. Bentar ya.
Iya.
Halaman 5. Halaman 6.
Silakan dibuka kameranya buat yang baru saja bergabung, Bapak Ibu.
Sebentar, Miss, saya ke interrupt. Ada yang masih mau masuk sebentar ya, Miss. Halaman 7. Boleh senyum-senyumnya? Nah, Ibu GM kami tercinta, cantik sekali. Halaman 8. Halaman 9. Halaman 10. Halaman terakhir, sepertinya Bapak Ibu semuanya sudah membuka kamera. Saya senang sekali hari ini. Wajahnya cerah-cerah semuanya yang dari Papua. Sebentar saya cek lagi ya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Lengkap semuanya sudah ada. Terima kasih, Miss.
Terima kasih Ibu Cornelia, luar biasa ya. Sabtu-Sabtu ya, sudah siap belajar, ingin mendapatkan informasi yang baru, pengalaman yang baru. Luar biasa sekali. Baiklah, terima kasih dan silakan duduk kembali ya. Yang tadi foto tegang sekali senyumnya. Boleh relax ya, boleh santai sedikit tidak apa-apa. Selanjutnya akan ada pengumuman mengenai Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon yang diselenggarakan oleh OSIS. Jefferson, Aurisia, Victoria dan Nabil dipersilakan menyampaikan pengumumannya.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we will have an announcement from OSIS about the Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon. Let us welcome Jefferson, Aurisia, Victoria, and Nabil.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu yang hadir hari ini. Kami merepresentasikan OSIS Sekolah Ciputra dengan saya Jefferson Tantos sebagai Ketua OSIS 2021-2022 dari kelas 11.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu Guru sekali lagi. Perkenalkan, nama saya Aurisia Santoso sebagai Wakil Ketua OSIS Sekolah Ciputra 2021 sampai 2022 dari kelas 11. Pada hari ini, kami ingin memperkenalkan sebuah kompetisi yang disebut sebagai Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon yang diselenggarakan oleh OSIS. Kompetisi tersebut tertuju untuk murid SMP sampai SMA.
Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon adalah kompetisi tingkat nasional untuk siswa dan siswi seluruh Indonesia yang akan diselenggarakan pada bulan Maret tanggal 29 hingga April 2022. Untuk melanjutkan detail-detail selanjutnya, kami mengundang komite acara ini dengan Victoria dan Nabil.
Selamat pagi semuanya, kami Victoria Pramoko dan Nabil Wafiuddin, selaku Ketua Panitia OSIS Decathlon. Dan hari ini kami akan mempromosikan Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon 2022. Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon adalah perlombaan tingkat nasional untuk siswa dan siswi SMP sampai SMA.
Perlombaan Sekolah Ciputra Decathlon merupakan berbagai macam event, yaitu debate berbahasa Inggris, lomba menulis esai Inggris, lomba pidato berbahasa Inggris, Olimpiad PPKN, Olimpiad Bahasa Inggris, dan juga Olimpiad IPA.
Kami juga menyediakan promo tertentu hanya untuk sekolah Anda. Untuk menggunakan kode promo, mohon masukkan kode promo dalam formulir registrasi.
Dan untuk semua syarat dan ketentuan, Anda bisa klik link ini dan Anda akan dialihkan ke dokumen syarat dan ketentuan. Dan untuk pertanyaan lain, mohon untuk kontak Panitia Decathlon lewat email atau WhatsApp yang Anda bisa lihat di layar Anda. Mohon bantuan atas mempromosikan kepada siswa dan siswi Bapak Ibu terhormat. Terima kasih.
Demikian dari OSIS Sekolah Ciputra, dan kami akan mengirim beberapa informasi lanjutan di chat. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih OSIS Sekolah Ciputra. Selanjutnya ada beberapa pengumuman untuk Bapak dan Ibu. Yang pertama, diingatkan kembali bahwa Zoom tetap dibuka selama workshop. Jika ada pertanyaan, dapat kembali ke tautan Zoom atau mengakses dari stsc.sekolahciputra.sch.id. Semua informasi terkait tautan Zoom dan Google Meet untuk kelas workshop ada di webpage tersebut. Dan peserta tinggal klik tautan tersebut sesuai dengan pilihan kelas workshop sesi 1 dan 2 ketika mendaftar. Harap masuk di kelas workshop sesuai dengan pilihan ketika registrasi.
Informasi yang kedua adalah peserta yang telah mengikuti workshop sesi 1 dan sesi 2 serta mengisi formulir feedback dan kehadiran akan menerima sertifikat digital melalui email peserta beberapa hari setelah konferensi ini selesai.
Lalu, mohon untuk memperhatikan nama lengkap ketika mengisi formulir feedback dan kehadiran karena nama tersebut yang akan tertulis di sertifikat digital.
Informasi berikutnya adalah formulir feedback dan formulir kehadiran akan dibagikan di sesi kedua workshop melalui chatbox Google Meet oleh workshop facilitator atau panitia.
Yang terakhir, konferensi ini bertujuan untuk saling berbagi pengalaman praktek pada pendidikan bagi kemajuan pendidikan di lembaga peserta. Kami harap semua materi yang diterima hari ini dipergunakan untuk kepentingan pendidikan internal masing-masing peserta dan bukan untuk kepentingan lainnya.
Baiklah, akan kami sampaikan juga informasi tambahan. Kami hendak menyampaikan informasi tambahan mengenai perubahan dan penyesuaian di beberapa kelas workshop. Sekali lagi, kami hendak menyampaikan informasi tambahan terkait perubahan dan penyesuaian di beberapa kelas workshop. Panitia secara khusus akan menghubungi peserta yang berada dalam kelas tersebut dan akan menyampaikan informasi terkait mengenai hal ini. Demikian serangkaian acara pembukaan School to School Virtual Conference dan sesi keynote speaker. Saya Feni dan
saya Nasya
mengucapkan terima kasih atas kehadiran Bapak Ibu semua. Bapak Ibu, kami persilahkan untuk meninggalkan acara untuk segera bergabung dalam kelas-kelas workshop yang kami sediakan. Kami mohon maaf apabila dalam penyelenggaraan acara ini terdapat hal-hal yang kurang berkenan. Izinkanlah kami membacakan sedikit pantun sebagai penutup acara hari ini. Dari Medan menuju ke tanah Papua, tidak lupa mampir ke Sekolah Ciputra. Demikian rangkaian acara pembukaan konferensi kita. Selamat belajar dan sampai bertemu di acara berikutnya. Salam sehat selalu. Sebagai penutup, kami mempersembahkan lagu Tanah Airku yang dinyanyikan dibawakan oleh para guru ekspat Sekolah Ciputra sebagai persembahan ketika memperingati Hari Kemerdekaan Republik Indonesia tahun lalu.
That is all for our school-to-school virtual conference and keynote session opening. We would like to thank all teachers and educators for attending our conference. We apologize for any mistakes and inconveniences that may have occurred during this event. To close off the assembly, we present to you Sekolah Ciputra's expat teachers singing Tanah Airku for last year's Independence Day. Stay safe and stay healthy. See you next time.
Sampai jumpa.
Sampai jumpa Bapak Ibu. Apabila mau kesulitan, silakan bisa diakses di Zoom ini.
Hello, Surabaya. I'd just like to say thank you for being wonderful hosts. Surabaya is a very friendly and delightful place. I've lived here about 3 years now, and I lived in Jakarta for about 7 years before that, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time. People have been very friendly, very wonderful, and made me feel at home. So thank you again, and happy Independence Day.
Selamat Indonesia, and I wanted to say a very big congratulations in celebrating your Independence Day. And thank you for welcoming me to Indonesia and making me feel a part of a very special family. All the best.
Saya merasa sangat terhormat bisa menyebut Indonesia sebagai rumah saya selama 10 tahun ini. Negara ini memiliki tempat khusus di hati saya. Selamat ulang tahun Indonesia dan terima kasih.